Different topic today, equally enriching, packed with insight. I hope you like it. One of my YouTube friends recently sent me an email asking me about my journey on YouTube. It was so kind and so well written that I decided to make an entire video on this topic to help her and anyone who's interested in growing on YouTube. Now, if you're new to my channel, my name is Larry, and I usually talk about markets and investment strategy. But on days and weeks where markets are calm and there's no chaos or disorder, I tend to make highly educational videos to help enhance your life and your career. So if that's your thing, join my community and turn on that bell. If you do want my thoughts on investments though, make sure to join my Substack email list where I periodically send out thoughts on the markets and my strategy publicly. So with that said, let's get straight into the video. Okay, we have a lot to talk about, nearly 40 slides that I wish to cover in under 15 minutes. Whether you're first starting out on YouTube or you've got a few hundred or a few thousand subscribers, I'm going to walk you through all the things that I know about how to find your voice on this platform. So we're going to be talking about determining your niche, your topic, and your edge. I'll be walking through it in a particularly insightful way. I'll talk about why new creators should discuss advanced things first and then beginner things later. This is going to be the most interesting part of today, where I talk about how you can skillfully bet against the YouTube algorithm and still grow. And then finally, I'll talk about why it's so important to understand your audience. So later today, I am going to be talking about this amazing case study of why sticking to your gut and sticking to your thesis, listening to your own beliefs rather than only listening to the algorithm is so important. These are two charts that I'll discuss later today. One where the video immediately outperforms my initial range because I obeyed the algorithm. Another one where it underperformed the algorithm and the range in the short term, but later massively outperformed, and I'll talk about that. So one of the unwritten laws on YouTube is that you are usually confined to a very narrow niche. The more you step out of your niche, the more you are punished by the algorithm. But I will show you how to skillfully bet against the algorithm. But before I do that, I do need to talk about the foundations. So let's discuss the foundations of YouTube. Some quick, fast, critical aspects for YouTube growth are the following, and I've broken this out into 3 categories depending on your journey, depending on your size. If you're under 100 subscribers, I sincerely believe that it's very important to make your very first video high quality that offers people a reason to follow you. You can think of the first video as the first impression. And you also need to get all of your family and friends to subscribe to start signaling to YouTube that you're serious about growth. I believe your first 10 videos will set the tone of your channel. When you are new, you need to offer a very strong reason for people to subscribe. And the smaller your channel, the more you have to prove. Once you're close to 1,000 subscribers, but not there yet, I do think it might be an advantageous idea to talk about trending topics and make sure that your content has a highly distinguished and unique angle. And you also want to start promoting your content across all your social media channels. You do have to be aggressive about this at the beginning of your journey. And if you are gaining momentum, you've got several thousand subscribers, but you're under 10,000, I would recommend that at this point that you focus on the quality of your content over quantity. There is a lot of data out there that suggests that quantity of videos produced could make your channel grow faster. But in my own experience, I've always found that my audience prefers high quality, insightful content. And this is the moment where you define your future trajectory. So take this part of your journey very seriously. And when you're new, I don't think that it's a good idea to use creative titles. I think it's better to use terms in your titles that have high search volume. You can do this kind of keyword research in vidIQ or Morning Fame. Links are in the description below if you're interested in those keyword research products. Now let's talk about the more advanced concepts. And the first concept that I want to walk you through that's a little bit more advanced is really identifying your niche, and within that, identifying your edge. So your niche guides your strategy and what is required. Some niche audiences value different things. As an example, certain topics and certain channels are very focused on production value, editing skills. Other channels like mine are much more focused on quality of information and high-level research and thoughtful commentary. And then other channels will really focus on humorous personality, because they're relationship-based creators. In the finance niche, which is the niche that I'm in, my opinion is that production quality is important and it's nice to have, but the more important aspect is to have high quality analysis and research. Of course, having all these items will continue to enhance your edge. Now, my niche, just to tell you a little bit more about my channel and my topic, is that roughly 75% of my content relates to investment strategy. Subtopics within this area include equity research, macro outlooks, portfolio strategy. And the observation that I have with this audience is that it's a very serious audience. Their interest is a little bit more narrow, but they're a little bit more engaged when it comes to the markets. After all, it does involve real profits and loss. The second niche that I focus on, and that's roughly 20 to 25% of my content, is about life and success. That's where I talk about personal development, where I talk about career mobility, life perspective, and also entrepreneurship. And here, I've always found that this audience is a little bit more interested in learning broadly speaking, and they tend to be a little bit more casual, and the comments tend to be less serious and more friendly in nature. The insight that I have to share is that whatever niche that you choose offers something that is truly valuable, truly unique, and it is very important to not only focus on one narrow topic inside your niche. Otherwise, you risk pigeonholing your entire channel and pigeonholing your place on the YouTube algorithm. The second advanced concept that I want to talk about is discussing advanced topics first and beginner concepts later if you are a new content creator. And I'm going to explain why that you should do this. I believe that YouTube is filled with beginners content that has a large total addressable market. In other words, in my niche in finance, there's a lot of videos about stocks 101, stock market 101, Warren Buffett 101. But YouTube, however, is not yet a destination for a highly technical and highly advanced content. So that means that there is an imbalance of supply and demand for topics that are sought after, but yet not on the platform. So if you're first starting out, creating beginners concepts, in my opinion, makes it a little bit harder to stand out. If you create content on advanced topics, you're guaranteed to have viewership because nobody else has talked about that before. Now, also in the beginning, I think that creating content that people need is a much better strategy. Later on, you can create content that people need and want. And the reason is that when you create content based on what people need, you have much more of an urgency for people to view your content versus wants are wishes and their luxuries, and those add to comforts in life. Therefore, those are secondary in priority when it comes to viewing your content, especially if you are a new creator. So focus on topics that have high utility value, because when nobody knows who you are, they care more about how you can help them first. Now, of course, if this is helpful to you and you enjoy this type of content, leave a like and subscribe to the channel and turn on the bell so I can help you further your career and in your investment strategy if you are interested in that topic. Now, here's the most important part of today's video, and this is also the most interesting part of today's video: how to bet against the algorithm by understanding the concept of the total addressable market. So the mindset that you want to have going into this strategy is to realize that not every video that you make is supposed to be a blockbuster. Each video could serve a different purpose, but the mission remains the same. My broad mission, which is subtly embedded in each video, is this: I intend to enrich my audience with highly intellectual and thoughtful content, show them new skills and ideas that will be valuable to them regardless of their niche interest. And some examples of the video purposes that I've intended to make are that some will build on previous discussions and analysis, and some will complete the discussion. And the effect that I've noticed over time is that these videos perform very well over the short term. But in order to reach new audiences and have a more diversified audience community, sometimes I have to create less popular content in the short term as I reach new audiences, because these content pieces will have a longer shelf life. Now, let me bring you straight to an example here. So my channel is primarily focused on markets, equity research, macro strategy, investment strategy, and I recently made a video that was somewhat outside of this direct niche, about jobs, about careers in the finance niche. And we can see right away that the subscriptions feed part of the performance underperformed because there were fewer people in my immediate audience that wanted to view this kind of topic. But here's what I want to show you. The algorithm is going to tell you their thoughts on the video's performance 24 to 48 hours after you release the video. And this video in particular, YouTube was telling me that the click-through rate was lower, the average view duration was lower, and also that there were just fewer people watching this video. But I want to remind you of this important principle. The algorithm can predict present behavior of your existing audience, but even the algorithm cannot 100% predict the future. In other words, the algorithm cannot predict the market. So here's an example in investments called sticking to a trade and sticking to a strategy. My existing subscribers, people who have followed me for a while, will definitely resonate with this phrase here that sometimes you just have to stick to your convictions. And this is an example of how this video performed over time. You can see that at the beginning, this video underperformed my usual range quite substantially. In fact, I remember this video being ranked at the bottom of my top 10, being number 8 out of number 10. And as a YouTube creator, if you understand rankings of videos, you would know that number 8 or number 9 or number 10, those kinds of data points definitely do discourage you a little bit. However, I continue to believe that this is the right move for my channel. And you can see that over time, with just a little bit of patience, the algorithm, in other words, the market, realized that the content piece that I produce on jobs and careers happened to be very, very valuable after all. And now it's actually outperforming my normal range. And that's interesting because this is a non-investments topic that is now outperforming my usual investments related topics. So we can see here that this video is now outperforming 10% of my usual range, and this comes roughly 2 weeks later after I produced the video, whereas before the first couple days, this message was a little bit discouraging. But once again, if you have a conviction and you have a gut feeling on what you believe is valuable to your audience, go ahead and bet against the algorithm. Now, my most recent video on the recession investment strategy, I want to show you some analytics regarding that. And this is why I would urge new creators and even experienced creators to not focus exclusively on YouTube analytics. I view analytics like the news, and I think that data is sometimes only applicable for that day only. This video that I made on my recession investment strategy has performed well in terms of views, click-through rates, and also average view duration. However, I am also a mathematics person, and I understand the nature of what is called a log function from math. And if we look at what a log function is, it's a curve that starts out really powerfully at the beginning, but then it flattens out over time. And that's exactly how this video on my recession investment strategy turned out. There was a massive outperformance at the beginning, but you can see that the slope and the rate of change is actually slowing down. And in my opinion, if we extrapolate this going forward, that means that my initial video on finance and careers potentially will outperform this video that my immediate audience finds a little bit more interesting. So we can see on my channel that I have made specific and strategic bets against the YouTube algorithm. Here's an example, here's another one, here's another example, and here's another one. These are examples of videos where I have specifically made them about non-investment topics, non-investment areas. I don't talk about the stock market. I don't talk about investments. I don't talk about macro. I don't talk about the Fed. I don't talk about stocks. And your audience, because they're human beings, they want to learn more from you beyond your niche, provided that you have that expertise, provided that you have a good story to tell. So in that case, the life lesson here is don't be afraid to plant the seeds for a solid foundation, even if it results in a slower start. It's very important to know this because slower starts do not mean less success in the long term. And just like I said in my previous video, where I talked about being behind in life, it does not mean that the game is over. Now, early on in my journey, just for some tactical tips, I went for YouTube search as a strategy to grow my channel. And that means targeting search terms that provide stable and high traffic words to bring people to my channel. Later on in my journey, I decided to go for a little bit more creative search terms to pique viewer interest, but that depends on where you are in your journey. Now, the last concept that I want to talk about is understanding your audience. And we can see here that most of my audience are males, and most of my audience tends to be between the ages of 25 to 34. This is very important because this will let you as the creator know who is viewing your channel, what age they are, what gender they are, and therefore what they're likely to care about. Here's an example of what I believe guys are likely to care about in these age groups. Feel free to pause this video and read these bullet points, and you can leave in the comments below if this fits your profile. I believe that someone who's between 25 and 34 is very interested in advancing their financial interests with new opportunities, building relationships, building a foundation for a family, and so forth. And so understanding the age, understanding the gender, understanding the geographies, all that comes back to giving you greater insight into how your viewers think, because there is a difference between how Americans and Europeans think. There is a difference between how North American viewers and Asia Pacific viewers will view your content. So my long-term personal goal is to turn from a topic-based creator to a relationship-based creator. And that's a situation where people watch your videos because of you and your original insights and thoughts, and not just because of that specific topic. Personally, I know that it's going to take a long time to get there, but that's the impact I wish to make on all of you. Build that strong long-term relationship together, you and me together. So growing on YouTube is considered to be career advice, and I provide career advice inside my Patreon community on top of my core investment research materials. If you're simultaneously interested in advancing your career and managing your investments, definitely come join my inner circle, where you'll develop your skills as an analyst, solve problems, and advance your interests. And if you want more guidance on YouTube, several months ago, I did do an interview with Think Media's Sean Cannell. So definitely check out the video here if you want more guidance. And if you enjoyed this video, smash that like button, hit subscribe, turn on that bell. And my friends, I will see you in my next video.